It's always a great time to go get a listing, but let me tell you, this month is particularly important. This session's all about load up the listing cannon. Load up the listing, fire the listing cannon. We're going to go through a step-by-step methodology of what you should be doing right now in your database in order to set yourself up for a really strong first quarter. So first off, not every market is the same. In fact, many markets are, have their own little nuances, but there are some basic general rules that I think we can all agree on, and that is there are seasonality and seasonal changes in the inventory and when certain people are looking for certain properties. And this isn't always the case in every market, but hey, what happens? A lot of people think about listing their house in the springtime. They list their house in the late spring. There's a lot more people looking for properties in the summer months because they want to get into the property before the end of or the beginning of the school year. And then what happens, the homes that didn't sell in the height of the summer, it's because they were either overpriced or they were not in alignment with market conditions and they didn't get sold. So does this happen? And yeah, it plays out year after year after year. And so here's some homework assignments that I'd like you to seriously consider in order to arm yourself when it comes to taking advantage of these trends in the market. Okay, we're toward the beginning of the year, and this is the perfect opportunity for you to get deep into your database and decide who is going to list their house this year. If you have a database that's got 1,000 people in it, for say, you probably have anywhere between 45 and 60, maybe even 65 possible listing opportunities in a general database of 1,000 people who own property. Now, here's the trick. Do you know these people well enough, and do they remember you well enough that when it comes time for them to list, you're going to be their preferred person? Well, I hope so, but we're going to take care of that right now. What I want you to do by the end of this week is crack into your database and identify who are the people in your database that are going to transact between now and the end of the year. Okay? Now, I know I want them listed right now, just like you do, but they might not be ready, able, and willing to list their property right now. What I want you to do is get into the MLS, go into your MLS, and start pulling out some data to support a reasonable and a logical, compelling argument. Reasonable, logical, compelling is based on evidence. So as a realtor, you've got access to the MLS, and there's a ton of data in there if you know how to look for it, interpret it, and then utilize it to your advantage. So we said that there's trends that say, oh, well, people list in springtime. Okay, is that true? Go into your MLS and just take a snapshot of market activity, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Do it over the last few years. And the odds are very good, which you're going to find there's lower inventory in the early part of the spring. More inventory in summer, more sales activity in summer, less sales activity in fall. So in the second and the third quarter, you've got all this activity. In the first quarter and in the fourth quarter, maybe you have a little bit less activity. Once you identify somebody that's in your database that's a potential candidate to list their home this year, I want you to dial in on two things. What's their core motivation for selling? And is that motivation really tied to a realistic time frame? Are they in that planning stage where the calendar has now become important, or are they just still in mushy land? Well, I'm going to sell my house one day. One day I'm going to retire. So if you can come up with a solid reason why they want to do it, tie it back to the calendar. Now, don't let that go, because now what I want you to do is make a telephone call to this person. I want you to have a simple conversation. Bill, Jim, Sally, I know that you're planning on selling your house because we've talked about this a couple of times over the last few years. And so let me help you understand why or what some of the advantages are to selling your home in the first quarter. Now, I appreciate the fact you want to wait till June or April or May, July, September. And if they're waiting for a specific reason, if their reason's dependent on something else that's a key thing, then for gosh sakes, just take note of it, because you're going to list their property then. But many times what happens is once you start talking to someone about listing their house, they start thinking about it more. And the more someone starts thinking about something, action is going to follow much faster than if they just are not thinking about it. They're thinking about it because they have some emotionally unresolved issues around what they're doing. That's why we have dreams, for gosh sakes. You're trying to sort stuff out in your head. So all your clients have waking dreams. One day I'm going to sell my house. It's a dream. Let's back in reality. You're armed now with data from the MLS. The MLS says, well, gosh, Jim, Bill, Sally, if we take a look at year over year market activity for your market, what we see is earlier in the year, the inventory is much lower. And there's some very clear advantages for you to being first to the market, because there are some people that are going to be looking for properties earlier in the year in preparation of possibly purchasing a house in the summer. They're going to be a little frustrated because inventory is low in the first quarter. Well, how do we fix that? Well, we list your home. We list your home in February. We list your home in March. And what this does, it gets you first to market. So the people that are on the sidelines, they've been on the sidelines in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. These people have been on the sidelines for 6 months. They're anxious to find a great property that looks just like yours. Let's get this to the market. Let's maximize the exposure with these early adopters, the people early in the season who know that they want to get their purchase settled earlier in the summer, and they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait till the end of summer. They want to get things settled earlier in this year. Okay, so now you're a pushy salesman? No, you're not a pushy salesman. You're educating. You're a real estate professional who understands the market. You understand trend analysis in the market, and you can clearly understand what the advantages are to listing in the first quarter. Now, guess what? The second quarter and the third quarter and the fourth quarter arguments are all different. And I didn't say, oh, it's a horrible time for you to wait till September. You should never wait till September. Don't do this. What you want to do is you want to make sure that this person's selling their property at a time frame that's commensurate with their core needs and wants, right? Now, sometimes we can encourage them with better information, and if those needs are maybe not so solid, it's easy to move them forward. You want to compress their time frame. You want more listings faster, and you certainly want those faster in the first quarter of this year. Why? Because if you don't have a strong financial first quarter, it's really difficult for you to start playing catch up in November. You look at your GCI for the year in November, you're like, oh well, geez, I gotta get 15 deals. I gotta get 15 deals in December. For God's sakes, don't put yourself in that position. Craft out the compelling reason why somebody would want to list in the first quarter, and for gosh sakes, provide evidence. Send evidence. Bill, Jim, Sally, take a look in your email. I did a simple graph, and I showed the available for sale in all these quarters, Q1 through 4, and then the sales that happen Q1 through 4. And if you see, gosh, there's like a 20% difference in the inventory between the first quarter and late in the second quarter. Now, what happens is in the first quarter, you can be first to market and you can be attractive to a lot of people who have been sitting on the sidelines. All these people that ended up buying in the second quarter, they didn't start thinking about buying in the second quarter. They've been on the sidelines for a long time. Wouldn't you want to take advantage of that and get those people to take a look at your home first? Wouldn't you want to be first to market? The next thing that's really important that you have to get settled is you have to figure out what your messaging is in your marketing and your outreach. And so marketing isn't just passive marketing, which is sending out email and sending out snail mail and sending out all kinds of passive text and passive voicemail and all this stuff. So that's passive marketing. Active marketing is you actually having an education type conversation with the prospect. Okay. What is the messaging? So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but here are the types of emails that I think that you should be sending out. Here's the types of information you should be posting. And that is, it's never negative. It's always positive. The positive thing is about first quarter is lower inventory, and we're targeting early adopters, people who've been on the sidelines and they didn't find their house in last September and they put it off. They couldn't find their house in December. Well, guess what? That person's been just waiting for you to put your home on the market. Let's take advantage of that the people who have didn't get satisfied last year. Okay. Now, another talking point in your marketing material and concept has got to be early adopter, early adopter, early adopter, because this is a kind of a word that's ubiquitous now in society. Oh, they're an early adopter. So it speaks to someone who's innovative and they're on the cutting edge and they're moving forward and they do think they're more aware of markets. They're more aware of trends than other people. So you want to target early adopters, the early adopter in the season that we're purchasing homes earlier in the year. We're forcing people or encouraging people earlier in the cycle. What does your marketing look like? Be the first to market. Be an early adopter. Another thing, I want you to take the evidence that you pulled from the MLS and I want you to put it in your email campaign or put it in any of the information that you're sending out. Did you know, early adopters end up getting more money for their property? And how can you figure that out? Well, just take a look at the Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 sales and availability. Also take a look at the average price. You might find a detail in there that makes a lot of sense. Now, if it doesn't support your argument, that's fine. It's going to support the argument for the next quarter. Hold the information, keep the information for the future. Early adopter, man, if you can be just first to market, you're going to be an early adopter. You're going to attract other people that not only have been on the sidelines, those are the laggers, the people who missed out on opportunity last year, but you're going to encourage early adopters, people who want to get their home purchase settled way before school starts. They don't want to panic in the third quarter about, oh my gosh, what are we doing with the kids? Are we going to get them into school? You're attracting people who are quicker to action. Being an early adopter, you're attracting early adopters. This is what your marketing and your messaging should be talking about. Now, the power behind it is when you back in some of the statistical evidence with the MLS, because it's not your opinion, right? You're an educator. You're not an editorializer. So your job as a realtor is to take market evidence and then present that market evidence in a way that's going to support a logical conclusion for your clients and your customers. And oh, by the way, it's going to help you ultimately, because why? You're pulling people off the fence or identifying that they're further off into the future. Early adopter. Okay. Early adopter, early adopter, early adopter. Evidence from the MLS. This is what first quarter messaging is all about. Get people excited about being an early adopter. Get people excited about being first to market. Okay, here's my last tip around this topic. Why am I so passionate about this? Because I want to make sure you make a lot of money in your first quarter. I want to make sure that you're set up for success for the year. If you end up getting more listings in the first quarter and you put them on the market, and let's say you get multiple offers. Let's say you were able to price the home really correctly and you get multiple offers. Heck, don't bother having an open house, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. The best part about getting listings early in the season is there are people who are on the sidelines looking for properties, and you want to have open house and you want to take backup offers. You want to take open house and backup offers. Now, obviously, the people that are going to be in a backup offer position, they already have representation. I totally get that. But the longer you can keep that home exposed in the MLS early, 30, 45, 60, 90 days, all up until the closing period, whenever you get it into contract, hey, it's pending under contract, keep it on there, keep it on there, keep it on there. Why? It's going to start establishing the fact that you're busy in the market, and you got a lot of things going on. And I want you to take that listing, and I want you to get 2 more listings from it. 2 more listings. How are you achieving that? My gosh, well, you're door knocking around your listing. You're introducing yourself to the neighbors. The only point in having an open house is for lead generation. And the very best reason for you to go knock on somebody's door in a neighborhood is you're a listing agent on a property just up the street. The property is under contract, and when it closes, it's going to affect the value of your house. I think you're going to be really happy. Now, did I tell them what the price was? No, but I would like to come back and share that with you. Like, who doesn't care about what's happening in their neighborhood? Who doesn't care about their neighbor's house that just sold? Who doesn't care about what price it records at on title? Everyone cares about that. And because you're not just posing as I'm an agent roaming the street, you're actually a professional who's executing a document, executing contract in their neighborhood. You have a lot of credibility, a lot of validation. You're never going to be more credible in that market, in that neighborhood than you are right then and there. I'm Don Stanek. I took a listing at 123 Main Street, your neighbor. Now, we did have multiple offers on the property, just to let you know. And so I can't tell you what the price is, but when it closes, my gosh, I'd like to come back and tell you. Oh, and by the way, we do have a handful of other interested parties that would be interested in maybe purchasing a home. Are you interested in maybe selling your house, or do you know anybody else in the neighborhood that might be interested in selling their home, right? Oh my gosh, is this the easiest conversation on the planet? Yeah. You know why you don't have it is because you're not door knocking. Well, I don't want to knock on doors. It's scary. Yeah, well, it might be scary, but for the people who knock on doors and listing agents who knock around their own listings, these people are powerhouses. I frequently coach agents who take listings and don't door knock around their own listings, even if I encourage them to do so. And many times I get into a phone call with them. They're like, oh, well, yeah, there's a new listing in the neighborhood, right, 2 doors down from where I listed ABC property. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, congratulations. Did you get that listing? No, one of my competitors got the listing. I'm like, oh, did you know those people were thinking about selling their home? No. Did you knock on their door? No. Okay. Lesson learned. Move on. Move over it. Because here's the deal. If you're not the listing agent door knocking around your other listings, I'm encouraging other agents to door knock around your listing. So you might want to get that listing. We packed a lot into this segment, and if you're struggling with any of the things that I talked about or anything else, for goodness sakes, go grab 15 minutes on my calendar. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about your business and how we might be able to make some improvements in there. I'm Don Stanek. Have a fantastic day.